Welcome to Life on Maui. I'm Stephen Freid. We're having a guest today who is a psychic and a channel. Her name is Liah Howard, and we're going to find out a lot about intuition, psychic abilities, and what she's offering to the community, which is a lot. Welcome to the show, Liah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you're very welcome. Very welcome. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What brought you to where you are now?
Well, honestly, I'm an identical twin, so I think I had the advantage of growing up being able to communicate with my twin sister without words. And when I was in college, I was 19 years old, I had some very unusual experiences that showed me there was a whole other realm of life that I didn't know existed.
Like what?
Well, I was brought up very Catholic that believed heaven, hell, and purgatory. And I had this experience. My dad died when I was 6. Actually, I was 18. He came to me. I was doing my homework.
Wait. He died when you were 6?
6.
And then
He came to me. His spirit came to me. I was doing my homework on the bed. And right at the end of the bed, there he was. And he looked just as solid and as physical as you look right now. And I couldn't believe it.
This is when you were 6 years old?
No, I was 18.
18,
He died
okay.
when I was 6.
Oh,
he came to me, his spirit came to me when I was 18, and he communicated with me. I got up to try to hug him because he looked so real, and I was so amazed. And I, of course, couldn't hug him because that was his etheric body. It wasn't his physical body. But what he said was he was very proud of me. The things every little girl wants to hear. He was very proud of me, and he loved me, and I was going to do great things with my life, and he would always be by my side, even if I couldn't see him. And then he disappeared. Well, this, of course, was very unusual. So I started reading about life after death. I just read many, many different resources and materials about life after death and the continuation of life after death. Then, shortly after that, I was sitting in a college classroom, abnormal psych class. And all of a sudden, I was up on the ceiling, looking down at my body, sitting in this classroom. And that was back in the 70s when we had circles. Everybody was sitting in circles. And I just couldn't believe it. I was looking at my body saying, well, if that's my body sitting down there, what am I doing up here? The class ended, everybody left, and I was still up there looking down at my body. And then I said, oh, I have to will myself to get back in my body. And I did, and I went back in my body, and my life has never been the same because I realized that I'm not my body. So I started meditating. That's what led me to meditation. I started doing intensive meditation, and I meditated for 13 years every day until I had another weird experience. I was meditating one day, and there was knocking. Just like that, regular loud knocking. And I jumped, as anyone would when you're not expecting a knock under your meditation table. And it happened again and again and again. Where I was meditating, then I moved to the bed to meditate, then I moved to the dining room to meditate, this knocking. And I was getting a little nervous. And I finally said, look, if you want to communicate with me, this is not the way because you're scaring me. And I knew I had guides. I had read about spirit guides and ancestors who have passed over and loved ones. But when it actually happens, something like that, it's a little unsettling. So shortly after that, I had my very first channeling experience, a spontaneous, where I opened up and received the love and the guidance of my first guide. I work with a council of 5 guides, and I do psychic readings. That is what I do. I've been doing it for 18 years now. I teach psychic development. It's a realm that I'm very comfortable in, but I've had to study and learn.
Well, it's interesting because say what age that you were at that time, first of all. What age were you when some of these things started happening, like that experience you just had?
I think I was about 30, I don't know, 35, something like that.
Okay, because you went to college and you're a school teacher.
I was 33, I guess.
You're a school teacher.
I was a kindergarten teacher, exactly.
And some of your life path took you through, you lived in Santa Cruz. You were a school teacher there. Florida. So talk a little bit about your background in that way. How did you balance that? Sounds like you were a school teacher and
mother of 4.
Mother of 4.
Right, single mother of 4 for many years. And the way that I balanced it is, for me, meditation was my survival as a single parent. I would get up an hour before my children and sit quietly and pray and meditate and connect with my guides and get guidance about my life and help with issues that I was having. And then the kids would get up and the hubbub of daily life would begin, you know, off to school, and I'd be off to my teaching job. And because I was a teacher, I naturally went into teaching psychic development. I love to teach. I still do. And
so at that point, while you were teaching kindergarten, you started teaching psychic development as well?
Also, yes.
Also, okay. Teacher
In
by
the
day,
evenings.
psychic development by evenings.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I really feel that when you have a gift, and this is a gift that I've developed, that anybody can develop, anybody can become more psychic than they already are, that we are given these gifts to share and to use. So I started doing readings. So after that happened, after that spontaneous channeling experience happened, I did meet a channeling teacher and worked with her very extensively. That was in Sanibel, Florida. Worked with her very extensively. She has since died and is on the other side, and she works with me from the other side. Her name is Anne. And then I started doing readings for all my friends, psychic readings. That's, you know, practicing. And then their friends, their husbands, until I got really confident, until I got enough feedback from enough people that I could trust the information that I was getting.
Sanibel has some of the best seashells in the world, don't
Yes, they do, and dolphins.
Yeah.
There are so many dolphins. I've had the most amazing dolphin encounters in Sanibel, Florida.
Yeah. And you lived in Gainesville for a while, as did I.
I did. I went to college in Gainesville and then moved down to the West Coast.
Where did you go to college? University of Florida?
Yeah, I went to Florida, yeah. Yeah. And my daughter graduated from there. I have 4 kids, so yeah.
And you have a grandchild now as well.
I have a grandbaby. He's 6 months old.
And you managed to do all of this. You managed to juggle all of this. I'm very impressed. You were telling me that one of the things that motivates you is that you want to be a model for women, particularly women who are maybe hit 50 and wonder what to do with their lives or feel confused about navigating that.
Exactly. I do a lot of psychic readings, and many people come to me who are at a crossroads in their life. They've raised their children. They're not sure what direction to go, and they haven't really developed other aspects of themselves if they were focusing on their families. And I like to be able to say, you can do it all. You can have your family, and you can develop these areas of interest as well. Now, the classes that I teach in psychic development and channeling, people don't necessarily become channels or do psychic readings for people. Oftentimes, they develop their creativity, their artistic ability, their singing ability, writing. Many of my students have written books. They have artwork in museums. They get in touch with their inner guidance. So their lives transform.
And what suggestions do you have for others who want to develop their psychic abilities?
Well, just as in developing any art, I consider channeling an art or psychic development an art. You have to spend time with it. And you have to read as much as you can about it, and you have to take guidance, usually from an instructor of some sort, is a helpful thing to do. Sort of, if you were going to learn how to drive a car, it's a lot easier if you have an instructor to show you some of the basics.
But you were mentioning yesterday just a couple things that I thought were very simple recommendations, like trusting...
Having quiet time and trusting your feelings. Those are the 2 biggest things in terms of intuitive development and guidance. Having some quiet time so that you can receive guidance from your higher self, and trusting your feelings.
And where do you offer classes? Where do you, I know that you have something going on at Studio Maui on a regular basis?
I do monthly events at the Studio Maui. Those are not classes, those are actually channeling events where people can come, and I do a group message, and then I answer questions individually for people.
Is it a regular date that you're
It's
there?
the 3rd Friday of every month.
From what time?
7 to 9.
Okay.
And I also do events in other parts of the island. You can just go to my website for that. The classes are 10 weeks long because they're very intensive, and they're 3 hours each class. I do them 4 times a year, and they're on my website. And I offer them in all different parts of the island. Right now I'm doing one in Kahului, probably be doing one in Lahaina in January, and Kahului.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're one of the people, I found out just yesterday that you have only been here for 2.5 years.
I've only physically been here 2.5 years, but in my heart I've been here a long time.
Right, and you know, like we were saying, you had a long path to get here. You grew up in Massachusetts for the first 18 years, and Santa Cruz, and back to Florida, and then here. What is it that attracted you to Maui?
The heart. I would have to say that I tend to be a super type A personality.
That's pretty obvious.
Is it real obvious?
Oh, how else could you get everything done that you do?
It's true.
I mean, when I came, I do a pre-interview with people, and I was at your house yesterday, and you've got the grandbaby on one arm, your musician son coming in and out of the house carrying a skateboard. You're carrying on a conversation with me. It was like this woman is definitely type A.
I am.
It's amazing.
And I do like to stay busy, but
Yeah.
I think for me, Maui has been a process of learning to slow down and let go and trust even more. It's been a deep integration of my beliefs. And it's been a dream come true. It was something that I had decided probably about 12 years ago, but raising 4 kids and not wanting to disrupt their lives, I waited until I got a few of them grown so I could go, and I'm here with my 13-year-old son now. And it's been incredible. But it's true, I do juggle a lot of things. I like to write. I write for a few different magazines. I have the radio show. And
Which magazines do you write for?
I write for Maui Vision, which is right here. I write for, in Santa Cruz, the Center for World Networking magazine. And I've also written for Vision Quest. Yeah.
And you have a regular radio show here.
I do.
And this is very interesting. I just found out that it was interesting to me that you actually rent the time on the radio, and then you have people come in and they can also, for a fee, they can come on your show and present whatever topic that they want to present, and you host it.
The show is called Mind, Body, Spirit, and I like to each week have a different guest to sort of balance that out. I tend to, my favorite area is spirit because I'm a psychic, but it's good to hear about things about the body, acupuncture, and all those different healing modalities. And the mind, things about relationships and communication. I have learned so much. This show has been, there's 3 goals I have for the show. One is education, one is inspiration, and one is networking the community, letting people know who else is out there and what they have to share and how they could benefit from them, and helping people to come into their own limelight and bring forth whatever their talents are.
Oh, that's wonderful. So again, through your website, people can contact you if they want to come on your show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. And how did you get into radio? How did you originally get into radio?
Well, I started as a guest. About 15 years ago, I started doing psychic readings on the air. You know, people would call in, and I would do psychic readings, and I was a guest for many, many years. And
where was this?
This was in Santa Cruz.
And how long did you live in Santa Cruz?
I lived there 12 years.
12 years,
Yeah.
okay.
But I started radio, before that. And so people would call in, and I would do readings, and I would get to experience many different hosts and, for the shows. And then I had the opportunity, I was doing a radio show in Monterey, Carmel area, and the woman, it was a 5-day-a-week show, she said she wanted to take Tuesdays off, and would I consider hosting on Tuesdays? Well, I love to talk, so I was very excited about this opportunity. And so I just started every Tuesday. I would choose guests to be on the show and get all the questions together and interview them, and I loved doing it. And I knew when I came to Maui that was part of my assignment. I work with my higher self and get different assignments for different areas and times in my life. And I knew that was part of my assignment, was to help to bring Maui together in that way.
And what's it feel like for you to be psychic? Are you feeling people's issues around you? I know my first wife, I was married to a psychic. And I know there were sometimes I actually felt like she was in my head, and it was a little uncomfortable sometimes. Of course, I was a lot younger then. But how is that for you on your end?
Well, sometimes it can be a little much because I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person. And actually, some of the best psychics are very in touch with their emotions, and that's one of the ways that they use it as a guidance tool. I have learned many techniques and tools for having to shut down, like when I go in the grocery store or places. I try not to go places that I think are going to trigger a whole lot. Like one time I visited Alcatraz, and there were so many disembodied spirits there and so much pain in the walls. It was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. And I realized I needed to be a little more discerning about where I put myself.
Yeah, because I remember one time, again with my first wife, much younger, but there was a sense, like you said, if you're very emotional, there's sometimes I actually experience this, like her gift was almost like a gun in the hand of a child, because I think a lot of times it overwhelmed her. So it sounds to me like you've managed. Was that something that came easily to you, or was there a period of time that, like you said, you would get really overwhelmed with this and you had to learn how to turn it off and on, be discerning? Did you find that that was a process for you?